All right, let's just jump right in. We use them all the time, right? We barely even think about them. But what if I told you that this tiny little punctuation mark, the comma, could literally be worth millions of dollars? Yeah. Today we're going to talk about the insane power packed into that little curve. That's right, $10 million. This isn't some hypothetical number. It's the actual amount of money that was on the line in a huge legal battle. And the whole thing, the entire case, hinged on a single missing comma.
And here it is. This is the phrase that caused all the trouble. It's from an overtime law in the state of Maine. So you had this group of dairy truck drivers who sued their company, Oakhurst Dairy, for a ton of unpaid overtime. Their entire argument boiled down to what these 6 words actually mean.
So what do you think? When you read that, is it talking about one single job, packing for shipment or distribution, or is it listing 2 separate jobs, packing for shipment and distribution? This was the multi-million-dollar question, because the drivers did the distributing, but they didn't do the packing. Their paychecks were riding on the answer.
You know, this whole case shines a massive spotlight on something most of us get wrong about commas. We were all taught in school that a comma just means take a breath. But that's not really its main job anymore, not by a long shot.
See, as people started reading silently to themselves more and more, the comma's job kind of evolved. It stopped being a note for your lungs and became a critical tool for your brain. Its real purpose now is to build a clear sentence structure. It's like a little traffic cop, telling your brain how all the pieces of the sentence fit together so you don't get confused. It's all about preventing the exact kind of mess Oakhurst Dairy found themselves in.
Okay, so now let's get into what might be the single most heated debate in the entire world of grammar. And what do you know, it's the exact issue that ended up costing that dairy company a fortune. The big fight over the serial comma.
You've probably heard this called the Oxford comma. It's that last comma in a list of things, like in red, white, and blue. Some people swear by it, others think it's pointless. But as we're about to see, this is way more than just a style preference. It can have huge consequences.
So this chart really breaks down the legal drama. Oakhurst Dairy basically said, look, we meant for there to be a serial comma. The law was supposed to exempt 2 different activities, packing and distribution. But because that comma wasn't actually there, the court sided with the drivers. They ruled that the phrase described only one activity, packing for the purpose of shipment or distribution. And since the drivers only did the distributing, they weren't exempt. And just like that, the company was on the hook for $10 million in back pay. Ouch!
This whole argument really comes from 2 different ways of thinking. In journalism, they often use AP style, which says leave the comma out to save space. But in books and academic writing, they use Chicago style, which says always keep it in to avoid any possible confusion. But here's the most important part. Even though they start from different places, both sides agree that if a sentence is unclear without the comma, you absolutely have to put it in. Clarity is always king.
Okay, so the Oakhurst case is pretty extreme, but it's a powerful reminder that being precise with our words really matters. So, to help us all avoid making our own costly mistakes, let's quickly go over 3 other super important comma rules that are all about making things crystal clear.
First up, remember the fanboys. It's just a handy little acronym for these 7 words. And the rule is super simple. If you use one of these words to stick 2 complete sentences together, like 2 full thoughts that could totally be sentences on their own, you've got to put a comma right before it.
And here's what that looks like. Jerry picked vegetables is a whole sentence. Bob mowed the lawn is also a whole sentence. So to join them with the word and, you need that comma. If you try to jam them together with just a comma and no and, you get a super common mistake called a comma splice.
All right, rule number 2 is all about setting the stage. Whenever you start a sentence with a little warm-up act, like an introductory phrase or clause, you need to use a comma to signal, hey, the intro is over and now the main part of the sentence is starting. It's just a little road sign for your readers so they don't get lost.
And now for our 3rd rule, which is maybe the most powerful of all. Just take a look at this sentence for a second. The woman who interviewed you is my sister.
Exactly. When you read it that way, the phrase, who interviewed you, is totally essential. It's specifying which woman we're talking about. Imagine there were 3 women in the room. That phrase tells you which one is the sister. It's restrictive because it restricts the meaning to one specific person.
Now look what happens when I just add 2 commas. That's the only change. Ready?
The meaning just did a complete 180. By putting commas around who interviewed you, we've turned it into extra, non-essential information. It's just a little aside. The main point is, the woman is my sister, which implies we already know which woman we're talking about. The fact that she interviewed you is just a bonus fact. Those two little commas changed everything.
And that really gets us to the heart of it all. Punctuation isn't about following a bunch of boring, ancient rules just for the sake of it. It is a precision tool. It gives you, the writer, the power to control your meaning perfectly.
So a good way to think about it is like a hierarchy of jobs. The comma's number one, top priority job is always clarity, making sure you avoid the kind of confusion we saw in that lawsuit. Its second job is to provide structure for the reader. And then way down at the bottom of the list is its old job of just marking a place to breathe. When in doubt, always choose clarity.
So from now on, every time you write something, an email, a report, anything, and you're about to put a comma in, or maybe leave one out, you need to ask yourself this one simple question.
Is what I'm saying absolutely 100% impossible to misinterpret? Or am I accidentally leaving the door open for a huge misunderstanding? Because as those truck drivers in Maine proved, sometimes the difference is nothing more than a single, tiny, but incredibly powerful mark.